guys, it's Natasha. Welcome back to my channel, and I hope you guys are having a great and wonderful day. If you're new, hello and welcome, and hopefully you guys like my video. Hit the subscribe button, also the post notification icon, so it notifies you every time I upload a new video. So for today's video, I'm gonna help you save some coins, save some cash. Last year, I bought my very first car on my own, and I documented the whole process and put it here on my channel. And one of my most frequently asked questions is, how do you actually save the money to get to the whole buying process? So that is what I'm gonna share with you guys today. If you're looking more for a step-by-step, beginning to end, and everything in between on how I bought my very first used vehicle, then I have this video right here on my channel for you guys to watch. And if you want to see any additional tips, then you can go ahead and watch this video. But for today, I'm going to show you some money saving tips, what I did to save money in order to get me to the process that I could start looking for the cars that I wanted to buy. Okay, so before we start this video, I am not in any way a financial advisor. I am not a bank. I can't give you financial advice. However, what I am doing today is sharing the ways that I did to put money aside to eventually be able to afford the vehicle that I was going to buy for the very first time. So hopefully this information helps you out today. Okay, so when I was saving up for my vehicle, I knew that first, I was a college student. I was not going to buy a car out of a dealership because frankly, I don't feel like anyone has $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to buy a very brand new car in their bank account, right? And as a college student, I was looking for a vehicle that was relatively nice and that was going to get me from point A to point B. It didn't need to be like the last Jeep that came out or the last Tesla model. I was okay with buying a used car. So the very first thing that I did is made my magical list of specs, and these were things that I needed in the vehicle. I knew that I was gonna buy a used car, so I wasn't gonna go all fancy schmancy with the latest and greatest technology, but I knew there's certain things that I needed in my car for me to purchase it. Things like I needed the car to be automatic, a certain number of mileage, I needed to be good on gas, inexpensive replacement parts if I were to take it to the mechanic, fairly new tires, I needed to have a fairly new registration, things like that I listed and made sure I had on my list. And this list was really helpful because it was actually the list that helped me choose between my final two picks. I was gonna buy either a blue BMW, which I wish I did, or a white Nissan. But one of the things that was really important for me in my list in the long run was it had to be good on mileage and inexpensive replacement parts. A BMW has more expensive replacement parts if it were to get damaged than a Nissan. So I knew that I was gonna go with a Nissan because I wanted to be a car that I could continually afford and not something that would bring me into debt. So that was really important. And also gas mileage, I was going to spend less money filling my tank of gas in my Nissan than in the BMW. So then eventually that made me pick my final decision. Okay, so the second thing you want to do is, based on the list that you have, pick a few car models that you are okay with purchasing. So if when you're going to head and look for cars, it's okay if you land within one of these five that you pick because they all cover your expectations of the list that you had made. And also something else very important to that is you need a timeline. This timeline is what is going to ultimately drive you to save enough money by the time that you need to purchase your car. So I gave myself a timeline to have enough time to save up enough money, put enough money aside for my work to buy the vehicle. When I started thinking about buying a car was around November of 2018, and this was 1 year before I actually needed to buy a car. Because I gave myself a set timeline from September, I started putting money aside for my vehicle. A timeline is very important because if it's something that you need very urgent, like you need this car within the next 2 to 3 months, the amount of money that you're going to be putting aside each month to save up for the car is going to be a larger amount than if you give yourself, for example, a year to save up for this car, because then you're going to be putting away a little bit of money for a longer period of time rather than a lot of money for a shorter period of time. So the timeline was pretty much my magic number to see what number of money or what amount of money I needed to put aside for my vehicle. Because if I told myself I have 12 months and this is the budget that I have to buy my car, then I went ahead and divided my budget by the 12 months and knew how much I needed to save each month. So the next thing, after you have your timeline, you have to set your budget. When I first started, I set my budget at $1,000. You know why? Because I had talked to some of my friends and I knew that they had bought their vehicles, used vehicles, $4,000 in the area that I lived. But little did I know that I had more specific specs in my list that I wanted in my vehicle that they didn't care about. Like they didn't care that their vehicle didn't have AC, or they didn't care that it was like chipped or rusted or outside. They just needed something to drive them from point A to B, and their car did that. However, I had extra things on my list, and those extra things cost extra money because they were new features. So my budget had to go up. So I started with a $1,000 budget, and I soon quickly came to the realization that $1,000 was not gonna cut it, because as I looked for vehicles in the Facebook Marketplace, which is where I bought my car, the things that I was looking for and the price did not add up. When you're looking for a used car in the Facebook Marketplace, you can go ahead and filter price, you can filter mileage and all these fun stuff. So that's what I did to look for my car, and based on what the market was like, what the average price was for what I was looking for, that is how I set my budget. So the average car for the vehicle that I was looking for was between $2,000 and $3,000. So I knew that I need to at least have $3,000 for my budget depending on the car that I bought. That being said, you cannot have the exact amount of money that you need for the car. That is a very dangerous game. Like if the car costs $3,000, don't just save up $3,000 because there's more cost that comes with the car purchase than the car. When I bought my car, I had at least $1,000 more than the car had cost because I knew there was additional costs that came within the car. So you need to have like the money, and I say an extra 15 to 20% more than what the car costs to cover the extra cost that comes with buying a car. Okay, so the next step that I recommend is managing your money. So now that you know what car you want, you know what budget you can afford, and you know the timeline, so how much money you need to make per month. So now you need to compare how much money you actually need to put aside per month versus how much money you can actually put aside, what you need versus what you can. And when you do this calculation, then you're gonna have to reevaluate your timeline if the money that you can put aside is less than the money that you need, because then you're gonna need a little bit extra time of saving for that money. When I was living on campus in college, I definitely budgeted monthly to make sure I had enough money for the things that I needed. And if there's anything that I wanted at the end, I would take that after I paid off everything. So for example, let's say you're in college, you work part-time, you make $800 every 2 weeks. And then you need to subtract money for your rent. You need to subtract money for your phone bill, for any Netflix things that you need, any subscriptions, and then you have X amount of money left. So when I first sat down to do this calculation, I subtracted everything that I usually do that month and saw the amount of money that I had left. I was not very happy with the amount of money that I had left to put aside to save for my car. So then I went ahead and looked at my expenses again and see where I could cut from there, because the car is something that I definitely wanted. And if I was spending something during the month that wasn't necessarily a need and I could put more money aside for my car, then I could, one, get my car faster because I was putting more money aside. So when I did that evaluation, I saw that one of the expenses monthly or bi-weekly that I was spending is getting my nails done. It would cost me between $40 to $50 bi-weekly, so around $80 to $100 per month to get my nails done. I know. I love getting my nails done. Was this something that I specifically needed to live and survive? And was it something that was impeding me to eventually save enough money to buy my car? Yes. So what I did not get rid of this completely. Instead, 1 month I went and invested and bought a nail kit, which cost me about $90 to $100, which would be the amount of money I would spend per month doing my nails. And since then, I've been doing my own nails. And this was something that I think was very smart for me to do, because that money would eventually be my gas money. Because after I finished updating my car and I bought it, I would still have that $80 to $100 within my bank account that I was not using for my nails that I could then use for gas that month. So that is one of the things that I recommend, is look through how much you make, how much you need, how much you can put aside, and try to match those. And if you can't match it because you have less money that you can put aside versus the amount of money that you need to put aside, then I would go ahead and stretch your timeline or look into other ways that you can make up for that money for the month. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so after I did that, then I did automatic payments, which is pretty much I went to my bank, and after knowing the amount of money that I could put aside from my paycheck to save money for my car and still be able to afford everything else, I talked to my bank, and every paycheck that came into my checking account, the bank would automatically move that money into my savings account. And by having that in my savings account, that means I would never touch that money, and I would always be saving that money to buy my vehicle. So next thing you could do is blocking your savings account. So if you're someone who knows that has a hard time separating savings from checking, and you can go ahead and access your savings account when you're paying, because you know when you're paying it says either checking savings, and you click savings when you're like trying to buy something you don't really need at the moment. You can actually block that, so if you do pick savings, the card won't go through and it won't get approved because it's blocked. So that's something extra you can do if you're really having a hard time saving your money. So the very last thing that I want to share with you guys is looking at other methods of payment. Up till now, I'm telling you exactly what I did. I saved up every single dollar that went into my car. I paid my car in full from my own money. I didn't do any loans, no interest, none of that. So that is why I didn't share any tips on how to do that, because particularly that is not how I bought my car. I shared every tip that I did on how to save money, the entire sum of money to buy your entire car, and that it completely belongs to you. But if you have a shorter timeline, of course I understand, and you need to buy that car sooner than later, and you don't have the luxury of waiting a long time, or you don't have enough money to put aside each month to go ahead and do so, you can look into other options of payment, such as getting a loan or a co-signer, or someone else can go ahead and help you out make those payments. I particularly don't know anything about that, which is why I didn't share, but that is also an option. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully something that I said was more helpful into understanding on how I put money aside to afford my car and buy my vehicle. If you have any other questions, I'll try to answer down below. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm just here to share my experience with you guys and see if it's something that you guys could also go ahead and approach. If you like my videos, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on any video you guys want to see next. Don't forget to follow me on my Instagram at natasha.matherin, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.